It started when I was 5 years old, only I was memory repressed back then. Everybody, all kids that are brought there to the cloning station are memory suppressed. I didn't know I was a clone at the time. I thought I was blasted into another dimension, something. Well, originally I was brought there to be what they call a diddle kid. They call it a diddle kid. And my mother knew all about it. My mother was there. She was there when she was younger as one of these people. She basically sold me out for free, but only it wasn't going so good. I'd just scream and cry. And they said, well, what else can you do? Can you do anything in her dancing? So I sang out this song, and a famous person used it, and then more famous people started coming to this specific cloning station I was at, and it just got worse and worse, and just kept on making songs to keep the greasy old people off me, and then it just went out of control, and then they started thinking that I was some kind of freak, like some kind of link to God or something, because I come up with these songs out of thin air. Like the way that they do these cloning things, it's a different kind of cloning. There's the one where it comes up from a baby. It's replication cloning, but this is duplication cloning. They grow a fully formed duplicate of you, and they grow them like 5 at a time, because sometimes they come out grown twisted. They have a malformed hand or something. So they scrap them, throw them in the chipper, and go with the other 4 for backup bodies. But the way that they do it, they can only put you into one of these kind of clones. It's called a Mark II REM driven clone. They can only put you into one of these clones when you're fully into REM sleep, which happens like after about an hour and a half after you fall asleep. You go into REM sleep. They just have a machine next to your clone that's on a rack, and it's laying there like a dead body, breathing real shallow and stuff, and it's got a feeding tube down the throat, and when a light comes on a machine next to your clone, somebody presses a button on a remote, it says this light says that you're in REM sleep, full of REM sleep, and they can activate you then. If they activate you before that, you'll be all disoriented and you go psycho and stuff. But yeah, so when you're in REM sleep, they can just bring you there. I tried to do the alarm clock thing, but when you wake up and you go back to sleep again, you just go right back into REM real fast. That's how it works. It's rapid eye movement, stage of sleep. That's how they do it. They call it a consciousness transfer. They transfer your consciousness into a clone, and they basically just give up their ability to have dreams and nightmares, and they just go there and walk around, talk, doing stupid stuff. Like they started doing it around 1944 or 45, and it was all politicians. But then they got bored of that. Like, they were thinking they would keep the whole world in line and everything, and under the threat of clone torture, because they can kill you remotely from the cloning center. They'll give you an aneurysm. If they apply a constant state of pain to your clone, you'll die in real life. Either that night or the next day, you'll have a brain bleed, aneurysm, stroke thing. I thought I would have been dead last year by now. Turns out they actually want me to talk about them. Okay. They made me think that they didn't want me to talk about them, but they actually do. They want cloning and the lizards and the hosts shut down. The only thing is they didn't want me to tell about these head chips that they got, and this other thing about gold that is absolutely ludicrous sounding, but I gotta say it anyway, because, you know, it's just different technologies that they have that you wouldn't think that they would have yet.
Sure. Okay. Donald, you said that basically you've been memory repressed since you were 5, and you said that when you got to about the age of 30, they actually reversed the memory repression, yeah? And then you went through this process which is called the awakening. Do you want to tell us what that is exactly?
Sure. Well, they test you when you're there. They say, if we let you in on this, are you going to tell on us? And they give you a truth serum, sodium pentothal. They can scan your head to see if you, kind of like a lie detector type of thing, scan your head, see if you're deceptive or whatever. The way that I got to be unrepressed was, like, I had to let them know that I was their ally, friend, or they were just going to leave me memory repressed about it, and I'd never be able to seek help. I was just going to go to the police. Little did I know the police are involved.
Exactly, yeah,
and,
exactly.
The Russians, this was actually on the internet. I was overjoyed when I first started mailing around, because I'd never gone on conspiracy pages and stuff or looked up stuff. And I go on to the internet to tell people about it, and they're already talking about a little bit of it. So I was like, yes, this isn't going to be as hard as I thought. So anyway, Mark 1 clone is, they call it, I don't know why, they call it an organic robotoid, even though there's no robotic parts in it. It's all organic. They call it a robotic or organic robotoid, but they don't use them anymore because they're so primitive.
Okay.
They got more side effects. You're more confused when you're a Mark 1, and they're REM driven as well. They're primitive, though. They come up like messed up looking sometimes, so they don't use them anymore. They just use the Mark 2s. Mark 3 is a run around all the time clone, like no REM needed. Well, there's 2 different ways. They can have it run around as a set consciousness, or they can do a duality thing where, like, it's weird. It's you have to, in real life, you'd have to do absolutely nothing, like, and totally concentrate on walking and talking around as this clone. You get like a weird, like a double vision type of thing. You gotta close your eyes and concentrate. They don't go so good. Like, and Mark 4 is supposed to be like top of the line. I don't even know that much about them. Hillary Clinton got caught on camera in her Mark 4 in 2 different places in the country, on purpose. On purpose. She actually got in trouble at the cloning station because they were like, you were seen on camera on purpose and you're double. And she was like, no, it was an accident, but she just wanted it discovered. They all want it discovered so that they can get away. They make people think that they've been abducted by aliens. They have a set with a fake saucer and everything. It's got a ramp leading up to it. It's small, and on the inside it's all decked out, and they clone people into the place, make them open up their eyes on the table, and they're surrounded by like these alien guys with fake masks on that are all going to like take turns on this person, and they freak out, and then they wake up the next morning, they think they've been abducted, and they have archives of abduction porn. I don't know, they don't get bored of it. They do it to just random people. All you got to be is good looking, or, you know, they don't discriminate.
Can I just ask him a question, Lisa, please?
Yeah, go ahead, Dave, yeah.
Yeah, I can't get my head around this. So what you're saying is, if somebody's in bed and they're in REM, rapid eye movement, sleep, they don't have to go to the cloner station. There's something at the cloner station that clicks on and says he or she is asleep, and that consciousness is transferred to the clone. Is that it, Donald?
That's exactly it. And I'm not sure if a head chip implant is required.
With the consciousness on it?
Yeah, well, no, the consciousness is borrowed, because when the person wakes up in their real body, the clone drops limp. It drops limp to the floor. So they always try to stay sitting in the stance, because different people have dropped limp, like limp noodle, just right to the floor, and they break their elbows, they crack their head off the concrete floor.
So it's just like Avatar, the film, then, isn't it?
It is exactly like Avatar. And even before Avatar came out, like, I was telling people about this stuff, and they put that Avatar film based on Mark II REM cloning.
And you're saying that because you're actually telling people this is why they haven't done anything to you, because if they did it to you, it'd be too obvious now, yeah?
That was what I thought at first, but I found out within the last year that they don't want to kill me. Well, first they wanted me to play fake Jesus for them, right?
Yeah.
And I could never do something like that, deceive the world, play with people's religion and things. Like, I don't tell people I'm Jesus or anything. Like, I think that's kind of silly. But then they're talking to me about things and prophecies. They said that the Nostradamus picture book has a picture of me in it, and it says that the next Messiah's initials will be D.M., and it's a reference in it to King Dawn and the Nostradamus prophecy. So they're all like, there's a bunch of super religious zealots there that say, oh, wow, we thought we were going to use him to be fake Jesus, but it turns out he's real Jesus, and if we kill him, it says in the prophecies that God will destroy the earth and this and that. So they're using that as an excuse to keep me alive, because they want it exposed so that the populace will force them to shut it down.
Sure.
Because there's some countries don't want to shut it down. they want to keep it going, but a lot of countries don't want to participate anymore. These bloodlines and stuff, everybody thinks that they're back from the beginning, they're pure bloodline and stuff. They're all just inbred people, hardcore inbred people. And they're all people that helped lizards in the past.
Right.
These lizards called Vril. They helped them in the past to find victims, food, whatever. And in exchange, lizards from underground would bring them jewels and gold and everything, because they have no use for it down there.
On that note then, if we can just go to the lizard thing, because that is obviously something that we need to explain here. What you're talking about, there's a lizard aspect to all of this, and you're saying that we have lizards and what I'll call lizard parasite hosts, and you're saying that lizards have been around for a long time, and we're talking about long before even ancient Egypt, and even about how things like the Eye of Horus is all about lizards. And you're talking about 3 different types of lizards, and they're all coming from the deep underground in the earth. And they actually breathe a different type of oxygen to us, which is like a methane-based oxygen. Do you want to just tell us a little about the lizards and the background and all of that?
Sure. It's quite a large chunk of the story. They said that this could cause the end of the world, exposing these things, because they're all over the place. You have seen one before in your life. They walk around in the public. It's why that Dmitry Medvedev, the Russian guy, was saying that if people knew how many aliens were among them, the world would panic, and and they probably would, because it's pretty sick. I met these stupid things when I was a kid there. They hang out in the bases there. They just hang out there. It's another reason why people don't talk about the place, because you don't want to get bit by one of these things, because they got this toxic spit, and one of the most painful things in the world. There's a lot to it. I'd only met the first type at first. They're smaller ones. They grow up to I thought they only grew up to 1 foot, 1.5 feet, but when they get older, they get up to 2.5 feet or something. They got red scales all over their body. They got their head looks like a king crab, and the eyes are on stalks and everything. It's disgusting. They got built-in sonar. They're real sensitive to sound and light, because they're basically subterranean troglodytes, like trolls. Basically, they are trolls. It's a highly evolved lizard. They were around back in the days of the dinosaurs, but they didn't get smoked by the comet that blasted the Earth or whatever it was that killed the dinosaurs, because they were so deep in the Earth, they were unaffected. And they just stayed down there. They cannibalize on each other when they run low on food down there. There's other things down there too, things that aren't intelligent at all, like prehistoric ground sloths. They eat those things way deep in the earth, and there's a couple of weird things down there. But
are you saying that they can't actually survive on the top of the earth because they do need a different atmosphere to us? Yeah.
Well, the sun would blind them, and they're really sensitive to sound, and they're really paranoid. They're parasitic creatures. Parasitic psychology is really cowardly. They slink around in the dark, having humans help them. Like the Danish kings, the wealth of the Danish kings and everything, that was because they were trading with Vril Lizards from underground, bringing them up amethysts and diamonds and everything. That's where they got all their money. That's where a whole bunch of these kings got their money from. Nobody knows where they got all this gold, all this money. They must have found El Dorado. No, they were trading children to lizards. Man, it's been going on for hundreds of years.
So basically the governments and the Illuminati, basically what you're saying is they've been complicit and working with these so-called lizards, yeah?
Yep. And there's another thing to it. They have a unique biological property of their body. Now, it's I know you've heard about it before from the interview with Vinny Eastwood there, but they got a thing on the top of their head. It's called they call it the quill. It's a proboscis. It wiggles out the top of their head once in their life. It is their brain and spinal column, and it goes around your eye, does a spiral around your optic nerve all the way to a certain part of the brain. Now, once it does this, if it fails, it's going to die. No, there's no going back into the lizard's body. The lizard's old body is dead. This is the shapeshift right here. This is what everybody talks about, this morph into a human. The thing spirals around the optic nerve, goes to this place. It then does something called sweating the quill. It does a certain kind of feeling, and the spinal juice in the spinal column like foams out the top of the little brain part, and they're all parasitic cells, and this goes all through the brain, totally extinguishes the consciousness of the previous human, and the lizard becomes that person. They used to be called mimics and doppelgangers in past different places in the world. It takes about a month's recovery time. Sometimes they say people are in a coma or something, where they just have to wake up, eat, go back to sleep, or they've had a stroke or something. All kinds of excuses. But yeah, the things they call them drones, but I've taken to calling them hosts because people always say, drones, you mean the unmanned planes? And I'm like, no, they drone you, they then call you a drone, or a lizard drone. And too many people said the thing about the planes, so I just call them all hosts now. That's what they are anyway, parasited hosts.
You said something about some of these people having so-called pet lizards, and they actually feed children to them, and because they have to feed them children because children have less vaccine in them, which is it all really, because if they take older people, the lizards get sick because there's too much vaccine in the blood, yeah?
Yep. And it's like a ceremony or something. The lizard will be sitting on the person's lap, right? Yeah. And there'll be a kid out in the middle. And, like, I haven't really gotten into it a lot, the whole thing with that, but what they'll do is they'll make the kid, like, not all the kids there are, like, unwilling. Some of them like playing these grown-up naked games, right? And it's all very disgusting. So they'll get this kid out in the center, 5-year-old or something, and they'll be really, how do you call it, promiscuous. They'll act that way, and then they'll go along with it and everything. But then afterwards, they'll say, "You're you're a dirty girl" or something like that, and she'll go, "Oh, I thought that's what we do." No, God wouldn't like that. And then it's like they set up a feigned anger against the kid or something because they don't want to feel bad. They want to dehumanize this kid before they see it get killed so that they won't feel bad themselves or something. Anyway, I watched them getting eaten. I tried to help a couple times. No. They press a button and they can paralyze your clone. You just flop. And, like, you can still see everything. You can't move, though. But, yeah, they made me watch that. They made me watch all the, well, not all of them, because they missed a couple of them. But the Picton murders, he used to smash them with a hammer in the head. They used to make me watch all of those. Elizabeth really took, like, control in matters pertaining to me there because she was acting like she was my owner, right? Because I was Mr. Special Song Guy, so she would always sit next to me and stuff. She's a camera hand, and she's literally retarded like 5 times, 5 different ways retarded, from cannibalism, from inbreeding, from traumatization, from watching these lizard things and having all this evil stuff around her whole life.
Sure. Sorry, just to pick up on the Picton thing, sorry, Donald, again, you've actually said that they use this Picton farm, it's used specifically to actually produce videos, horrific videos, to actually bring back to these cloning centers for a purpose there, yeah?
Yep. Well, I'll tell you all about the Picton thing. They had cloned him into the place. I mean, the man is still alive, and he won't be alive very long if he starts saying something about a cloning station. Like, I don't know what's going to happen now, because with them not killing me, everybody else is gaining confidence now, and they're like, well, we want out of here now. All the celebrities and stuff, and they're like, Elizabeth's trying to threaten people into silence still, because she wants to just keep it going, because she knows she's doomed. She's going to be vilified worse than Hitler. Mm-hmm. You'll see. She says, literally there, she carries a cyanide capsule with her. They all do. All the scumbags do. because they know what's coming. They think a crowd is going to surround them and pull their arms off. Like they said, we fear being lynched in the street when this is disclosed to the public. And I said, hey, you deserve to get lynched, really. Like, you deserve way worse. Britney Spears put the cloning tanks in her video, the Break the Ice video. I made that song for her called Break the Ice. And then she was happy to put the cloning tubes in the video because she wants out of their bed. Like, she was all for it when she didn't have any money. But once she gets famous and rich and stuff, oh, I don't want to go to the cloning center anymore. And then they're like, oh, well, too bad. We own you. And she's like, well, I don't want to go on TV or anything anymore. And then they're threatening to kill her. They killed Whitney Houston for that.
I was just going to say that. That was my next question. You said that they actually killed Whitney Houston, yeah?
Yeah, and Bobby Brown knows about it. He was sitting there in the crowd crying, watching.
And what about Bernie Mac? You said something about Bernie Mac?
Yeah, he was awesome. He tried to basically save me. Spoke up for me there. He said, we can't be doing this to a human being. I've seen enough of this. This is foolishness, right? And everybody's like, well, other people started to join in with them. So Elizabeth put a stop to that real quick. They cut him up for hours. Like, the constant pain on a clone, it's only really efficient if you use electricity, but they could just chop you and chop you and chop you for hours, clone by clone by clone, and they made everybody sit there and watch him getting chopped all up, as an example, right? And towards the end, he was cursing me out pretty bad. He did, he knew he was going to die because he's seen it happen to other people before, but and they don't usually do the chop up thing over and over and over to do this to people. They usually do the electricity, just put a constant electrical charge on the clone and they'll die. That's what they did to Tila Tequila to give her aneurysm, but they stopped. They could have killed her easy, just stuck the electricity on, but they stopped. Like, she was looking for more money.
Okay, just to stop you there, Donald, sorry, I'm going to bring David in a minute, but just before I do, can you just tell us, for people that don't know who Tila Tequila actually is and the story there, if you wouldn't mind?
Who is she? Let's see, washed up porn star, her drug addict, half-rate celebrity that did like a bachelorette show of some kind and then, it didn't do anything else.
So what was her story with regards to this then? Was she trying to expose it at one point then? Is that what you're trying to say, yeah?
Well, the thing was, she was there for a long time, being used as a sex slave. Members of her family there, some woman named Bouchy, her cousin or something. And then, for being a good sex slave, they offered her the Shot at Love show. So she did that, did the Shot at Love show, and then she's like, okay, well, I don't want to come here anymore. And they're like, we'll give you another show. And, okay, I'll stay then. She does another Shot at Love. So then after that, she's like, yeah, well, I'm not getting any more shows. I don't want to come here anymore. And she was really outspoken. Like, she really liked to push the envelope and dare them to try to kill her, right? Because I guess she had some kind of a dead man disclosure, whatever they call it. If you die, someone picked up something. So they didn't want to kill her, but they wanted to shut her up, so gave her an aneurysm. Well, she went on a video blog or something. It's gone now, but she went on a video blog and said, can someone please help me? Everybody thought that she was being like a big drug addict. She goes, can someone please help me? The Illuminati are blasting me into another dimension somehow. Queen Elizabeth is there, and she eats people, and there's demons there. And they follow her command, right?
Yeah.
And that night she had an aneurysm, or was it the next night? I think it was that same night. And after that, she never said anything else.
Right. And this is brought on by the so-called electrical charges to the clone, basically, which can do that, yeah?
Yep. They just lay the clown down, attach a wire, constant electrical current, and if you're young, it takes a while. If you're old, it doesn't take that long. And they blast your brain.
Sure.
And so anyway, she came... I contacted her because I'd met her there. We'd talked about disclosing together, and all the other ones there were like looking at us like, I thought they were actually just going to kill us. They were just using us for a joke. But so she comes onto my wall there, and she's talking to me and everything, and I'm like, you gotta tell. And she's like, yeah, well, she's hinting and beating around the bush and everything. So then one night, she went on her radio blog there. This is why she stopped talking to me and stopped talking about cloning altogether. She went on her radio blog, and it was supposed to be a pre-recorded broadcast, and it was all very controlled because they're in her face there. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Every time she falls asleep, don't you dare. So she goes on video blog, and surprise goes live and says, hey, I got to tell you guys all about these things called the cloning centers and what they do to children there. Now, they do this and that and the other thing, and she said, she called it going on blast. That night when she went to sleep, she got a bunch of Vril Lizards up in her face and said, you are going to get us eradicated. Anyway, she was pretty scared. She says she's fearless, and no, everybody's scared of these things. Instinctual fear. After that, she unfriended me on Facebook. It was right after her cloning radio show. Like, I have it on my Facebook wall. She tells all about it. It was the first time any celebrity did. It was, like, unprecedented. So then she got threatened bad that night, and they said that they would bite her to death and then reanimate her after death and bite her and bite her and bite her. So she's like, you're on your own, Donnie.